CYO basketball is alive and well today and strongly positioned for the start of our 60th season of basketball in Mercer County. Currently, we're operating 6 divisions from Pee Wee, starting with 4- and 5-year-olds, to our intermediate freshman, junior varsity, varsity, and high school leagues for boys and girls, with over 80 teams and more than 1,000 players and cheerleaders. And it stood the test of time for over half a century. There have been an estimated 45,000 players, 5,000 volunteer coaches, and 1,000 officials to work our games since its creation, and the numbers just continue to rise.
The Mercer County CYO, or Catholic Youth Organization, is a wonderful program. It all began in 1952 when the Diocese of Trenton established the program in all 8 counties of our diocese, and our diocese was 8 counties at that time. Monsignor Leonard Toomey was the first diocesan director of the CYO. Welcome to the Catholic Corner. I'm Monsignor Walter Nolan. As you saw from our opening video clip, basketball was a big part of the CYO's history. But basketball is only part of what this great organization offers to young people in our Trenton area. My guest today is the Executive Director of the CYO of Mercer County, Tom Mladenetz. Tom's going to tell us about the history of the CYO of Mercer County and how it has grown and expanded over 60 years in existence. Tom, welcome to the Catholic Corner.
Thank you, Monsignor.
It's good not only having you as a great friend, but that whole CYO program goes back in many, many years for lots and lots of young people and even the older youngsters as they grew. Tell me a little bit about this. We celebrated 60th anniversary. How about some of the history of the CYO?
Well, I could tell you, Monsignor, the CYO, when it began in 1952, actually began their operation at 1 Center Street in Trenton, and that's at the corner of South Broad Street, right next to Sacred Heart Church. And that was the original office, the original program site. They had a little gymnasium in there. And it was also home to the Kayaks, the Catholic Young Adult Club. And I hear from many of my older friends how significant the Kayaks were in their lives. For many of them, this was the main social venue, and many of these young couples eventually got married and started Catholic families.
You might not know this, but at one time I was a moderator of the Kayak Club in Mercer County when I was a young priest.
So you're familiar with it.
True.
And that was just one of many components of the CYO back then. And in 1958, the Diocese of Trenton purchased the former Springdale Park on Yardville-Allentown Road in the Yardville section of Hamilton Township, right next to St. Vincent de Paul Church. And it's a beautiful 23-acre property, and we'll talk more about that. We still operate that today, and now rather than a seasonal camp, it's a year-round operation. And then in 1961, the diocese purchased the former RKO Broad Theater at 920 South Broad Street in Trenton. And as many people recall, there were several movie houses, as they called those in that time period, in Trenton then, and the RKO Broad was well known in the city. And the diocese seized the opportunity to buy that facility and convert it into a community center. So the acquisition of those properties in the early days in Trenton and Yardville really was the spark for the CYO programming that occurred since then. And obviously there's been a lot of changes over the years, Monsignor, but one of the things that has remained constant is the support of the Diocese of Trenton. Going back from Bishop Barr now to Bishop O'Connell, each of the bishops has always tremendously supported the CYO. They recognize the value of the work that we do in the community. Over the past year and a half, the CYO has been under the Department of Catholic Social Services under the excellent leadership of Sister Joanne Dress. And the CYO is very, very proud to be a part of that social service team that works day in and day out to provide programs and services for people throughout the diocese. We focus on Mercer County, but our social service team is there throughout the 4 counties of the diocese.
So that the CYO program is not just Mercer County. Other counties have their own programs also?
Not quite like our program because we have the formal structure in place, but there are some CYO type programs in other parts of the county, especially at the athletics.
One of the great priests that I've ever known in my life was Monsignor Leonard Toomey. And when I was first ordained, I guess I got to meet Monsignor Toomey, maybe because I started to do a little work with the CYO or the kayaks. Tell me a little bit about Monsignor. I mean, everybody in the world, I think, knows him. Just a marvelous gentleman and a marvelous priest. And yet he was a man who, I don't know if he was very athletic in a sense, but yet he performed so marvelous miracles with the CYO.
He certainly did, and not only did everybody know him, everyone loved him. He was just one of a kind, a tremendous priest, and to me personally, he was the best mentor besides my father who I could ask for. I mean, he was just always, I had so much respect for him and his wise counsel. Yeah, I've said this many times before, Monsignor Toomey was very much a visionary. He was ahead of his time. He was doing things before other people and other places were doing it. And just the foresight, I mentioned a few moments ago, the acquisition of those properties. Monsignor Toomey was the person who spearheaded that. He recognized the potential with this old abandoned park to turn it into a summer camp, with an old movie theater to turn that into a community center. He not only recognized the potential, he was also very cognizant of the changing needs in the community. So he was always doing things and a few steps ahead of everyone else. And he had the ability to connect well with all people, but especially children. And as you said, he wasn't the most athletic guy, but he knew athletics was an avenue, a tool to use to connect with a lot of young people. Yeah, so he was just amazing. And even in his later years where he would be doing things behind the scenes to always help the CYO. He would call me up and invite me to go to a luncheon with him or some kind of event, help me connect with people who could help the CYO in one way or another. And I greatly appreciate that. I remember before he died in September 2008, one of his, if not the very last public appearance he had was at the 50th anniversary of the CYO camp in Yardville. And he loved everything about CYO, but the CYO camp was very special to him. And he was involved in planning that event months in advance, and he gave us a list of his friends, people who worked at the CYO camp in the late 50s, early 60s, that he wanted them to come out and share in celebrating this milestone. And I remember being there that day, and everyone knew Monsignor was quite ill at the time, and Bishop Smith had told me, he says, "Tom, I don't think Monsignor is going to make it today." Of course, the event had to go on, but 10 minutes before the event, we see the car coming down the hill at the camp, and his car was very recognizable because he had personalized CYO license plates on
I remember that.
And he had one of the seminarians drive him down there, and he just felt that strongly. He didn't want to miss this event, and it was just really special, Monsignor, that he was able to come out, and for myself and for many of his friends in attendance, that was just an opportunity to thank him and to say goodbye.
You know, he just had that uncanny ideal that young folks, children, need a place to, run off and do this, but he also had the ability to have friends that could also support those things. I mean, he just was a man who could bring everybody together, and it worked.
Absolutely.
It always worked.
Absolutely. And he worked closely in the early days. I have to give credit to the late Monsignor Michael McCarston. Monsignor McCarston was the builder, and he had the ability to round up an army of volunteers, and Monsignor McCarston and his crew actually built the Olympic-sized swimming pool at the CYO camp in Yardville, the accompanying bathhouse, the main activity building. So as you're saying, Monsignor Toomey, he knew how to connect with everybody and bring people together to work as a team.
They were giants of their time,
Absolutely.
Believe me. I understand that CYO produced a video in honor of the 60th anniversary. We have another clip of this video featuring some of the older folks who will share their memories as young people in the 50s and 60s participating in the CYO.
Great.
I know when I was growing up, this was the place where we always wanted to go. We couldn't wait for Saturdays and Sundays because that's when we played here at the CYO, you know. We just couldn't wait to get there. We would come. If we didn't play till 6 o'clock, we were here at 11.
I remember the first day as probably a 5th grader. This was a brand new facility, and opening those doors and coming in, the smell of that gym and the excitement in this room and the volume and noise in this place, it was just such an exciting place, and it really turned me on to all kinds of sports and activities.
Well, after I graduated from high school, back in 1962, I belonged to Immaculate Conception Parish, and the pastor at the time called me in, and he said, you know, he said, we don't have anything for girls in our parish except cheerleading, of which I was a cheerleader. And I said, well, I played basketball at Cathedral in high school, and that's all I know. He said, fine, let's do basketball. We have a boys basketball team, let's do a girls basketball team. So they announced it in the church bulletin, and it was unbelievable. This one little Saturday morning, 60 young ladies showed up for yearning to play basketball.
Late Mike Fahey, who he was a star player for Incarnation, he was playing for Incarnation at the time in 1964 when the CYO gym opened. And Mike would tell me the story like it happened yesterday and said that, Tom, you have to understand that when we came from the Junior 2 gym, which is very, very old, came into this gym in 1964, we felt like we were playing at Madison Square Garden. And you could still see the excitement in his eyes, and so many other people from that era just shared that.
Yeah, I was a camper. I got on a bus over on Bank Street, and I was a member of Cathedral's Parish at the time. Little kid, I was only 7 or 8 years old, and my mom took me down there, thought it was a good thing. We were obviously involved in church, and went out to the country, and I really thought it was the country at that time, and had a great week. It was you only signed up for a week at a time then, and we had a week, and I liked it, and my mom and dad were pleased. And from 4th grade on, I was a camper until I was graduated grammar school. And then I went back in the early 80s, and along with Tom Mladenetz, who was the athletic director at the time, I ran the pool for the CYO. So the camp and I have been associated for a long, long time. My children were involved in it. I assume at some point my grandchildren may be involved in it.
There's a lot that's happened here in 60 years. You know, this gym wasn't the same 60 years ago. You know, a lot of great renovations were done and well taken care of. The CYO camp, you know, the different, even so many more teams, you know, have become involved.
60 years is a special milestone, and it is very significant for me because I played CYO basketball for St. Mary's back in the late 60s, early 70s. My first job out of college was as the athletic director of the CYO, and I ran the sports leagues at that time. And then to come full circle and to be honored to serve as the executive director of the agency and see the big picture now, it's really, it is special.
It's a testament to the people who have been involved in the CYO that this organization is here 60 years later and probably even stronger today than it was when it started. And when you talk about those people, you don't talk about necessarily people who take a paycheck. You're talking about the volunteers, because this is more of a volunteer organization than anything else.
They're continuing the mission that Monsignor Toomey, a great guy, a guy I knew, and I call him a guy because he's a guy's guy, and good with us when we were kids and just as good with us when we became adults. But that mission of making sure that kids get a positive opportunity to, either recreate or, get involved with after-school programs, things like that. I think it's terribly important that these organizations continue, and the CYO is really, really doing a great job. I'm very proud to be involved with it.
He just was truly a visionary, and you know, for him to begin this agency, and he was with us until a couple years ago, and I know personally, he told me many times how pleased he was that the agency has grown. So as we've gone through the growth periods and added a site in Ewing and expanded our Yardville operation to year-round, that made Monsignor very happy that we're changing with the times. We've been very dynamic as an organization.
Well, I've known Monsignor Toomey, you know, all my life, and again, someone who would take the time, the energy to give back to all those kids. He loved children. He made sure there was a place for children. He always made you feel welcome. And I remember days at the CYO day camp where he would come and he would just make you feel like you were the only one in the room when he was talking to you. Just a tremendous man, a tremendous religious figure, someone who really brought children up through the church. Just great memories.
Nicest memories I have is when they played in a JV team, and they all went to 10 o'clock mass before a championship game, and they all met in church, and you know, our pastor gave them a blessing, and you know, it was just to remind the kids, you know, what it's all about, you know, and it was that was probably one of my fondest memories. It was nice that they won the sports, the championship, but the mass part, I think, it was nice to see all the girls together, and their parents all came to mass, and you know, so you know, really the spirituality is really what it's all about.
When I was coaching, the biggest satisfaction was to be able to see the kids grow, not only as players but as people as well. And one of the good things about the CYO, as far as there's some very serious competition, but there's also great camaraderie.
Parochial schools in the area were very, very good teams always because of the beginnings that they got here in the CYO.
We're proud that we've been able to maintain that, and you know, there's the freshman level, the junior varsity, the varsity, and obviously what we offer for the boys, we offer for the girls, and it's been nice to see. Yeah, this past winter we began our Pee Wee basketball league in Yardville, and we're starting with the instructional sports, basketball included, for 4-, 5-, and 6-year-olds. And you know, it's really cute to see that and see the grandparents and family members come out, and you know, these young children, I mean, we're creating special memories. I know my memories of playing CYO basketball are things that I still cherish today, and I hear so many people, and we have our Hall of Fame awards dinner. People get up there to accept their award, and again, they relate the stories as if they just happened the last year or two. And of course, you get some people who tend to exaggerate their statistics and they had a much better career than they did, but that's the fun of it. And to get together at these dinners and events and just reminisce. But yeah, I think everyone agrees CYO has really been a special part of their childhood, and it's nice now to see second-generation children coming up, and the tradition continues, and we're proud of that. The league, after 60 years, is alive and well, and I think that surprised a lot of people.
Tom, it sure brings back all kind of memories. Marvelous, marvelous, marvelous presentation. Nice to know that you played some ball back then when you were a youngster in the CYO.
Absolutely.
And it's so nice to see some of the names or faces that we even know today that are still part of the community, and knowing that CYO helped them, faith helps them, and they become great citizens. And then when you see the youngsters coming up with like Pee Wees and all, I just love it.
Yeah, it's great stuff, Monsignor. It really is. And that video was first shown at our Basketball Hall of Fame dinner this past November, and we had over 200 people in attendance, and everyone just loved it so much and really moved by parts of it, especially with Monsignor Toomey in there. And you know, it tells the story over 6 decades. It captures what the CYO experience has been for so many people, and as you said, the people who were interviewed in this video now, they played CYO sports or went to the camp when they were young, and some of these people here are now serving on the CYO Board of Trustees and doing other things, serving on various committees for the CYO, so it's their opportunity to give back, and that's why the CYO is as strong as it is today, because those people recognize that responsibility and have done it very well.
You know what's always interesting to me too, Tom, is that we're a mixture of a lot of things growing up as a God-blessed son and daughter. But sports is something you don't learn in the classroom. You know, just that interaction of winning and losing, to know that that's all part of life, but you're also a part of a team, which is, I think, so very important in many ways. I mean, some people have great families at home, some maybe their families are not so together, but that all helps them integrate, which is a beautiful thing.
It does, and Monsignor Toomey attended the first couple Hall of Fame dinners, and he spoke on that very topic that you're alluding to now, where, you know, he was saying how you look back and it doesn't matter. Sure, you need to be a good sport and you need to be able to accept defeat, but he says it doesn't matter who won or lost a game 30 or 40 years ago. What matters is what you see in the room at these Hall of Fame dinners, those lifelong friendships that have developed out of that. And that was special, and it's very true that, you know, that is the most significant part of the CYO experience. And
when they get together and you meet fellas you grew up with, all of a sudden you tell the stories over again, and my experience is the stories get better as
they
tell
do.
them.
The fish get bigger.
Which is wonderful, just wonderful. The Martin House Learning Center is now part of what you're doing?
Yeah, there's a couple of growth opportunities that have come up. A few years back, we took over the Mercer Child Care program, which was a small standalone preschool and summer camp in Ewing Township. It's housed at the Hollowbrook Community Center, which is owned by the Township of Ewing, and it's situated near the College of New Jersey. And that has been a good fit for us there, Monsignor. We've been providing these services since 2008 now. And we have not only stabilized the preschool and the camp there, we've grown it. There's a real need in that community as well. And one of the exciting projects that we have is the proposed Monsignor Toomey Annex at our Yardville site, and it's very appropriate. We're naming this addition. It's almost a 5,000 square foot addition, a multi-purpose room that will be added on to the back side of the main building to give us some indoor play space and the opportunity to house family events there. So we're looking forward to that. And you mentioned the Martin House Learning Center. Just this past spring, we were approached by the Martin House Foundation Board, and this was when Father Brian McCormick, the founder, longtime director of Martin House, was retiring. The Martin House Board had asked the CYO to take over the Learning Center, and Martin House wanted to focus on the housing programs and the other aspects of that organization. And we took a good look at the facility and the programs, and it seemed to be a good match. So we're in the process now. We've been operating a few months, and we have a tremendous amount of respect for the work that Father Brian did there for decades.
Another great priest.
Another great priest. And as you know, Martin House Learning Center is in a very challenged part of the city, the Wilbur section in East Trenton, and really a tremendous need for services such as what we provide, the preschools, the after-school programs, the youth sports. So we're excited about carrying on that tradition there. Father Brian was another priest who had the exceptional ability to connect with the community in terms of donors and volunteers. So we're in the process of reconnecting, and during the transition, Father Brian has been very, very helpful to the CYO, and he's delighted that we're carrying on the tradition.
Tell me a little bit now about the programs that you have in the parishes throughout the county, and some of the work and the different programs that are going on in our parishes and how they connect.
Well, with the parishes and the Catholic schools, we offer an extensive athletic program, and you see the focus in the video was on basketball and cheerleading, and that's still big. We have the Diocesan Tournament of Champions coming up in March, where we bring together the championship teams from each of the 4 counties. And Monsignor Toomey started that years ago, and for whatever reason, there was a 20-year gap, so we brought that back. And it's nice to bring together at our facility in Trenton teams from the Shore area and Monmouth, Burlington County, and so on. So we're excited about that. But CYO also offers other sports. We do soccer and softball, track and field, and cross country. And over the years, we keep listening to the feedback that we receive, and there are trends. So there was a period 20 years ago where we did bowling. We've done golf programs over the years. We've done volleyball. So we keep changing as the needs and the interests among the youth. So they're the people we serve. So we like to listen to them and try different things.
I know that myself, you have a track program once a year, so to speak. I mean, it's a big Memorial
event.
Day or whatever it is.
Correct, it's in May.
And I used to love to go down there and watch the youngsters compete. And some of those youngsters are terrific athletes.
And you're absolutely correct, Monsignor. That event has been happening at the Notre Dame High School track every May for over 50 years now. And it's quite a big event. It's an opportunity for some of the athletes who don't play some of those team sports that I said before, but have the interest and the ability to compete athletically.
When I was a young guy, the coaches used to go to those events and say, well, look at the speed of that kid, or look at the quick speed of that kid.
They're scouting.
That's a wonderful thing. What's the future? Now, I know you love your job, and what's the future of the CYO?
Well, I feel very blessed to have the position. I'm honored to serve as the executive director, and I am very fortunate to have a great team working with me. We have a very dedicated staff. Some people have been working with the CYO for 20 to 25 years. And then I mentioned earlier the many volunteers. We have a tremendous board of trustees.
And lots of young people can get involved. And how do they get involved?
They can stop by any of the CYO sites. They can call the main office at 609-396-8383, or they can visit us at our website, cyomercer.org. And there's something for everyone, Monsignor.
Tom, marvelous, marvelous work you do. Thanks a million for the time, and I thank your family, because I'm sure there were times when you were at the CYO and they're kind of say, "Where's Dad?" But probably you brought them also with you. So it's a marvelous thing, and you take that tradition of Monsignor Toomey and you bring it right to the marketplace and right to the blessings, and it's marvelous. So keep up the good work.
Thank you.
And folks, we're so glad that you're with us. Please get involved, stay involved. Let the children be active, and keep us in your prayers, because it's all part of our faith, it's part of our development. Know we love you, know you're blessed, and we ask your blessing as we bless you to continue the work of all of our community efforts. God bless. Thank you.
Nine out of 10 wildfires are caused by humans. If you see someone in danger of starting a wildfire, step in and make a difference. Because 9 out of 10 wildfires can be prevented.
Only you can prevent wildfires.